Welcome back to another edition of the Lawrence County SportsNet Preview Show podcast here at lcsportsnet.com. Lawrence County SportsNet powered by LCAP. Give a big shout out as each and every week our podcast delivered by Penn, Ohio Bottled Water. Make sure you give them a call for delivery of your 3 to 5 gallon water cooler systems, and don't forget about their hot and cold water options, or even a cup of coffee using their bottom-loading water cooler options. Let Penn Ohio Bottled Water do the heavy lifting, bringing refreshing water straight to your door as we bring you a fresh batch of previews for the big games coming up this week. And they are big games in WPIL country, especially because conference play is underway for sure. It all begins with Thursday night football. How about that? Union against Shenango. How about some Thursday night football here in the county? And we're expecting to see a packed house Thursday night for the game at Sox Russo Stadium. It's the Big 7 conference opener between the Scotties and the Wildcats. Cats and dogs going at it. Now, both teams entering with 2-1 records, but completely different levels of the spectrum in terms of how they're coming into this conference opener. The Union Scotties are defending WPIL champions. Well, they suffered their first loss of the year to Cornell, 30-14 last week, and Coach Nee and his staff will certainly be looking to rebound at home. Braylon Thomas, last year against Shenango, had over 200 yards on the ground. He's run for 4 and thrown for 7 touchdowns so far this year. Dane Jonke has actually caught a touchdown pass in each of the 3 games on the year so far, and you'll even see Lucas Stanley sometimes in there as your kind of change of pace quarterback at times as well, giving Thomas a break, or even sometimes moving to wide receiver. The issue for the Scotties in their loss last week, a couple of different things. First off, they allowed 400 total yards of offense to Cornell. And the second part, turnovers and penalties. 6 offside penalties, a couple of face masks, but 5 total turnovers, plus a couple of turnover on downs in plus territory as well in the game. Union is going to be preaching ball control. I think that is going to go without saying. On the other side for Shenango, coming off of such an adrenaline rush and an emotional come-from-behind victory last week over Riverside, 24-19. I mean, just think about this. You lose your starting quarterback on the first offensive snap of the game, and then later on in the game, you lose one of your leaders who's moved positions to the offensive line, and Michael Legato. He goes down with an injury. You have an extended halftime because you know that he is now being transported to a local hospital. You have your starting running back end up leaving the game as well. Just so many injuries, so many different things that could have been, okay, we're going to throw in the towel. Shenango never did that, to say the very least. Sam Myers came in at the quarterback specifically with a vengeance. I mean, here's what I look at. Yeah, his first pass was an interception. Okay, whatever. The next possession, right after they had the injury on the field to Michael Legato, next play is a touchdown pass. Next possession, they get the ball back, another touchdown pass, both to Colton Fedrizi. So the first 2 plays after you see one of your players go down in a bad way, to come right out like that speaks a lot to the character of Myers, Fedrizi, and that entire Wildcats team. And even more than that, maybe, you have Myers throwing his 4th interception late in the game. They're down by 1. That could be the end of the game, but instead, no. He goes out there, he gets a strip sack, fumble recovery, gets the ball back for his team, throws a deep bomb down the field, and ends up scoring the game-winning touchdown on a run on the very next play with just over a minute left to go. This is a Shenango team that, well, I don't want to say they're used to it, but they are. They're used to playing shorthanded. They did it all last year. Those couple of close losses they had last year to, the Rochesters and the Southsides when they were fighting the injury bug. Well, guess what? They've already got a close win this year. 2 of them, really, in terms of a win over Western and then now this win over Riverside. They have belief, and they're going to need a lot of it to take on a Union team that is going to be out for a vengeance, too, after what they happened to them on their home field just a week ago. And it is a short week. Keep that in mind, because you got to see, how is this team going to get prepared? How will each team get prepared, especially, a Shenango squad that might be going until Wednesday evening to even know who can or cannot play. on Thursday night. So expect to see players moving around to new positions at a bunch over the course of the game. That game will be Thursday night kickoff, 6:30. Time of that kickoff. Limon will be joining me for the call from Union. And I love this stat. How about this? This is the longest running rivalry in Lawrence County. It dates back to 1929. Union and Shenango played each other every year from 1929 to 1991. That's 63 straight years they played each other. No one else in the area can say anything close to that in terms of consecutive games. They only played 3 times over the course of the next 10 years, but they've played each other again every year beginning in 2002. The 89th all-time meeting, Shenango holds a 48-34-6 record here in WPIL, but we're going to take a pause. Before we talk about the WPIL, let's talk about District 10, which has another region game. They've been going since the get-go, have the Wilmington Greyhounds in terms of region. They will be taking on the Hickory Hornets, and that's a game that we'll have coverage on at lcsportsnet.com. Both teams 2-1 in Region 3 play. And how about this? Wilmington, tight winner last time these two teams played last year, 22-21. With 10 seconds left, Buddha Book catches the game-winning touchdown, and then they go for 2 and get the conversion to win that game 22-21. Sound familiar? I mean, that's basically how Wilmington has won and lost in their first couple of weeks, was with late touchdowns, and whether they go for 2, go for 1. Nonetheless, talking about Buddha Book, had that game-winning touchdown last year. He's only attempted 17 passes on the year so far for Wilmington. They've certainly gone back to their old-school ground-and-pound ways, and Ben Miller leading the way. He leads the region right now, averaging 163 rushing yards per game, and he has 7 rushing touchdowns on the year. He also had a long kick return for a touchdown last week against Mercer. Buddha Book, by the way, also had a pick 6 last week defensively. As for the opposition, Hickory, they found their success through the air. Xander Tellis, 6 touchdown passes so far. He also has 3 rushing touchdowns because of the Hickory quarterback. His main weapons on the outside are Tyson Cousin and Luke Neville. Cousin actually has 3 of those 6 touchdown receptions on the year. The Hornets are coming off of a tough loss, though, a shutout loss, 12-0 to Sharon, who, by the way, the Tigers still have not allowed a point on the season. They will be taking on a Hounds defense here. While they struggled in Week 0 against the pass, but definitely have looked much improved in their last 2 wins against Greenville and Mercer. And we expect another big battle in this local rivalry between the Hounds and the Hornets. It's been a rival, really, though, surprisingly, owned by Wilmington. It's the 31st time these two teams have played. Well, this first game was all the way back in 1928, but then they didn't play again until 94. 7 of the 9 wins that Hickory has had all time came in a 8-year stretch from 2009 to 2016. Overall, Wilmington, a 21-9 overall record against Hickory. That's a 7 o'clock kickoff from Greyhound Stadium. Our friends from 790 WPIC will be on the call for that one. That's the Professor Ryan Briggs and the teacher, Chris Birch, and we'll have the video coverage to go along with it with the Mercer County radio station. The other game that we'll have on Friday night is Neshannock against Western Beaver. The Lancers, after being Sharon's first shutout victim in Week 0, Neshannock, well, they've responded in a huge way. 39 to 42 point totals in their wins over Laurel and Ambridge. 39 points and 42 points. But now it's MAC opener time, hosting a very talented Western Beaver team. We look to see what this balanced Lancer attack can do and if their balanced attack can continue. Gino Mazzocco, he's got 2 passing, 3 rushing touchdowns so far on the year. And he's gone over the century mark running the ball in each of the last 2 games. Combine that with the lightning and thunder combination of Anthony Aiken and Pat Argero. Those two with a big threat in Dom Cubelis. A lot of athletes all over the field. Cubelis and Bonner in the secondary will have their hands full, though, against Western Beaver's talented receiving corps. A trio of receivers that have been wrecking havoc on opposing defenses so far. Mikey Crawford, Chris Kirkland, Dorian McGee, they really spread the field. Tyson Florence has done a good job running the ball in the middle. And keep in mind, this is a co-op with Lincoln Park, so you have a lot of those great basketball athletes who are big targets on the outside for sure for the quarterback, the freshman quarterback, Javen Peel. He's thrown the ball pretty well so far this year, 6 touchdown passes, but the Golden Beavers only have a 1-2 record. Their home loss in Week 1 to Shenango was one that was plagued by penalties. That really held them back. The Shannick will look to continue their winning ways against Western Beaver. They have won 6 of the last 7 against the Golden Beavers. They look to continue that success. We'll look to continue with our previews, the rest of the Friday slate of games coming when we return. It's Lawrence County SportsNet Lawrence County SportsNet podcast preview show.
Don't get left out to dry. Call the Penn Ohio Bottled Water Company for the fastest and most efficient bottled water delivery service in the area. Penn Ohio offers bottled water ranging from 16.9-ounce bottles to 5-gallon jugs, perfect for your next event or office water cooler system. Also, don't forget to ask about their custom labeling options. Visit PennOhioBottledWater.com for more information and to get a quote on their delivery services. Whether it's at home, in the office, or on the sidelines, Penn Ohio has you covered.
Again, we thank our friends at Penn Ohio Bottled Water, delivering you quality H2O as we can continue to give you quality X's and O's. 4 other games going on Friday night that we will preview here. Elwood City against Freedom, one of the other games in the MAC, and that junior group for Elwood City. How about this? Another 2-1 record for a team out there. Elwood City and Freedom coming into this game. This is the first 2-1 start for Elwood City since 2011, and maybe that's fitting because that's the last time that Elwood City qualified for the playoffs. Can the Wolverines continue that run this year? Chris Smiley, the quarterback, he's got a touchdown running and passing in all 3 games so far. 3 pretty good receivers that he's spreading the ball to. And Elijah Palmer McCain averaging 134 yards per game on the ground. He's actually getting pretty close to 2,000 career rushing yards for the junior. On the other side for the Freedom Bulldogs, a new-look offense has Tyler Schulteis chucking the ball around a lot more. Cody Patterson has caught 70% of those passing attempts, and he has 3 of the team's touchdowns on the year. Running back Tyler Welsh has the only rushing touchdown, though, so far in the year for the Bulldogs. A 1 week 0, a tough loss in week 1, 14-7 loss to Ambridge, and then a 42-0 loss to a really strong Beaver team. So still not sure what this Freedom team will have in terms of conference play on the year. How about this, though? This matchup dates all the way back to 1913, the first time the Wolverines and the Bulldogs played. It was a 56-6 victory for Elwood City. However, Freedom, in recent memory, has the advantage. They have won 5 straight over Elwood City, including 3 shutouts of the Wolverines in the last 4 years. That is a home game at Helling Stadium for Elwood City. The other game in the MAC is, well, just 3 miles down the road. Mohawk at Riverside. Mohawk at 2-1, Riverside 0-2. The Warriors last week at home really struggled to get things going early against Laurel, but they exploded with 200 total yards from scrimmage for the running back Justin Boston. That helped take the load off of Jay Rona and company, and frankly, it opened up more passing lanes in that second half in the 28-6 win. Rona now 13 passing touchdowns on the year. That's tied for the most in the WPIAL, and I'll tell you what, he's got to be licking his chops as they're facing a Riverside defense that was torched last week for 251 passing yards by Shenango's number 2 quarterback last Friday night. Riverside, they're facing the injury bug, though, too. Robbie Janis, big 6'1", strong running back. He had a great first half against Shenango, but he ended up leaving the game in the second half. His status could be in doubt this week, and if so, because not only is he the big running back, but he's also the quarterback on the defense from the middle linebacker position. So if he's gone, expect quarterback Aiden Garcia trying to find his top target in Zach Hare a little bit more frequently on Friday. Newcastle will be traveling on the road to start their Parkway Conference play against West Allegheny. Newcastle at 0-3, but Kyrell Harris, he showed off his legs last week, a 14 and 19-yard touchdown run. He also had a great back pylon touchdown pass to Maddox Thompson. Newcastle led that game late in the first half, but the defense just kind of broke down in the second half en route to the big defeat. It was closer for a lot longer than what it looked like on paper. Canes 0-3, West Allegheny, they got a 1-2 punch themselves in the backfield to watch out for. Roman Police, 184 yards and 4 touchdowns for him. Brock Cornell, 178 yards and 5 touchdowns. They keep each other fresh in the backfield. They are going to be a nice 1-2 punch that Newcastle is going to have to do their best to sustain from the beginning of the game. A strong contrast, though, to what Newcastle faced the last couple of weeks in the passing attacks that Mars and Armstrong laid out there. So we'll see how the Newcastle defense fares in that one. And the final game, it is a non-conference game. Everyone else in the Big 7 starts conference play. Laurel has one more non-conference game against Berlin Brothers Valley. The Mountaineers coming up to take on the young Spartans, who kind of talked about it, showed some life in the first half against Mohawk. The line really played like 3-year veterans, not a crew of mainly first-year starters. How about a 16-play scoring drive, mainly on the ground, a couple of fourth-down conversions to take that 6-0 lead. I really like what they've done mixing in and out Lucas Santini and Jackson Saunders. Saunders definitely had a lot more success last week, especially just with direct snap keepers, almost turning into a single wing at time. But he also, because of that, was able to show off the arm. Defense creeped up. He threw a nice deep ball over the top to Braden Smith for a 30-yard completion. In the second half of that game last week, though, the youth, I think, really did start to work against Laurel. Mohawk's veteran line kind of wore them down. We know there's going to be growing pains for Laurel this year, but there were lots of positives to be seen. What can they bring in against the Mountaineers? And it's a talented Mountaineers team. They scored at least 38 points in all 3 games. Their senior quarterback, Pace Prosson, 10 touchdowns over the first 3 games, and he's got 5 different players that he has thrown a touchdown pass to already this year. That's a 7 o'clock start at Spartan Stadium. Well, we thank you again for joining us, and we are glad to be able to preview the week's games so far. Week 3, Game 4 coming in, already approaching the midway point, but conference play beginning again in District 7 land. Every game is utterly important the rest of the way. Again, a big shout out to our powering sponsor, the Lawrence County Community Action Partnership, and special thanks again to Penn, Ohio Bottled Water. Again, give them a call for delivery of your bottled water or 3 or 5 gallon jugs. We'll get the full recaps coming up over the weekend. Make sure you enjoy. Remember, game Thursday, Union Shenango. 2 games we'll have on the air Friday night as well. All on the Lawrence County SportsNet, powered by LCAP.